All right, the rational exponent worksheet. I'm trying to make this as painless and quick as possible. I tend to talk too much. I'm going to try to handle 4 at the same time. If you have a horrible mind, then that sounds really wrong. All right, so the first one is 49 to the half power. As I said in class, half power means square root, third power means cube root. So your work, your justification is to replace the half power with a square root symbol. Take the square root of 49. What number times itself is 49? Well, that would be 7. Yay, easy peasy. Next one has a negative power. And I said negative powers cannot be done. You have to make them positive. So you do the flip and switch. So you're going to flip it upside down. When you do that, the power turns positive. So you take whatever is being raised to the power and flip that. And then the power changes to plus. Now, you have 5 squared, which is 5 times 5. So that gives you 1 over 25. Again, boom, easy peasy. This is the step, though. I have to see that work. 1/3 power. Fraction. The bottom number is the root. A 3 means cube root. So you put your radical symbol, put the little 3 indicating cube root. Now you're looking for what number times itself makes 64. 2, 2, 2, that makes 8. 3, 3, 3, 27. 4, 4, 4, 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4, 64, yay! So cube root of 64 is 4. Now you got a combination of a negative and a fraction. You got a double action going on. First, get rid of the negative. Flip it over. Take what's being raised to the power, flip it over, change the power to positive. You want to be fancy? Reciprocal. So you have 1 over 36 to the positive 1/2 power. But as we saw in the first one, the half power means radical. So we have 1 over radical 36. So you're taking the square root of 36, otherwise known as 6. Why? Because 6 times 6 is 36, or 6 squared. All right, so that's the first 4. We're going to do the next 4. Okay, the next 4. 5, 6, 7, 8. The problems do get progressively more difficult as you run through them. Starting with this one. Now again, you had fraction, exponent, but the previous ones had a 1 on the top. So this one has 3 halves. So you're like, what the hell is the 3 halves? Well, the 3 is the same power you always do. It's the 2 that you have to deal with on the bottom. The 2 on the bottom means square root. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to replace the 2 on the bottom with a radical symbol. The problem is I still have a 3 there. Well, you have to keep it there. You don't have a choice. You have to raise this number to the 3rd power. But first you have to do the root of it. So you're going to take the square root of 4, which is 2. And then and only then are you going to raise it to the 3rd power. So you're going to do 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. Again, you don't have to show me a whole lot, but you have to show me a justification for where this comes from. If all you just tell me is 8, I did it in my head. Whatever. You got to show me work. There has to be steps there to justify the answer that you got. Now this one, if you look at 6 and you look at 8, they look really, really similar. In fact, I'm going to do 8 before I do 7. One of them, though, has parentheses. And the negative is there with the number inside the parentheses. One of them doesn't. Now, I want you to think of this one as -1 times 100 to the half. And if you think of it like that, you won't make the mistake. You got to keep that negative there. You're doing 100 to the half power. You're not doing -100 to the half power. Here, you're doing -81 to the half power. Here, you're just doing 100 to the half power. The negative is waiting for you to do that. So remember, half power is square root. So first you do the square root of 100. Then you make it negative. You're not taking the square root of -100. All right, so it's really easy to make that mistake. So this answer is nothing more than -10. You take the square root of 100, you make it negative. Pow. But in number 8, you are taking the square root of -81. The negative is in there with the 81. So it's going in there with the radical. So now you have the negative inside the radical. Huge difference. Not in the radical, in the radical. So the problem is, what number times itself is -81? 9 times 9? No. -9 times -9? No. Negative times negative. You can't multiply something by itself and make a negative. It's impossible. Two negatives multiply to be a positive, and two positives multiply to be a positive. What are you going to multiply two positive numbers and then make it negative? It's stupid. So this cannot be done. So I told you in class what to write. You write BS. Bogus solution. That's not what it means, but that's what we tell people it means. So this is BS. This is undefined. This is garbage. We'll find a way to do it later. It's BS. It's not a real number. I mean, it's fake imaginary number, but not a real number. Can't be done. Negative in the radical, no good. You write BS. Now to 7. Again, we have a 2 on top now and a 3 on the bottom. The 3 on the bottom represents the cube root. So put the 8 inside the cube root. But what about the 2? The 2 is a regular power, right? When you have the second power, that means you square something. I'm going to do the cube root of 8. What number times itself 3 times makes 8? Well, that's a 2. And now I have to do 2 squared. 2 times 2 is 4. Pow. So there's the next 4. Done out of order, but who cares? Okay, the last 4. I mean, it should be the last 2 because you only did 1 through 10. And instead of stopping at 10, though, I'm going to do 11. And then I'm going to do the very last one as a bonus. I'm going to do number 25. So people had a lot of trouble with 9 and 10. 10's a little easier, but I'm going to start with this one. Now, again, you have parentheses. So negative 27 is the one that's being raised to this power. So the bottom number is a 3. So that means cube root. So I'm going to take the negative. Now, the negative is not going to go here. The negative must go inside there. This negative is not out there. So you're going to do negative 27. You're going to take the cube root of that. Then you're going to square that. You're going to do the second power. That stays. Now, the problem is people didn't know what to do with the cube root of negative 27. Like, you have cube root of 27. 3 times 3 times 3. It's 27. The problem is this power is odd. And, you know, when you had an even, like, you know, we just did radical negative 81. This can't be done because this is an even power, right? Square root. It's even. So you can't do something times itself and make a negative. But here you have an odd power, right? Cube root means 3 times. If you did negative 3 times negative 3, positive 9. But then if you did that times negative 3 again, if you take negative 3 and you multiply it 3 times, that's positive 9. But then when you hit it again with that negative 3, you get negative 27. So this works. This is not undefined. This is not BS. This is legit. It works. The cube root of negative 27 is negative 3. If you did negative 3 to the third power, you will get that number. So it works. Now you square it. And remember, I'm squaring negative 3. So I'm doing negative 3 times negative 3. And I'm going to get a positive 9. I'm writing the positive for emphasis. You don't have to put the plus there. You can just write 9. But it's plus 9. It's not negative 9, right? You did negative 3 times negative 3. So cube root of a negative is cool. Now I'm going to teach you how to cheat on this one. Negative 1 is a really strange creature because depending on the power, you either get a 1 or a negative 1. You can't get anything else, right? No matter how many times you multiply 1, you make 1. So, but if the power is even, you know, like a root, if you try to do the square root of negative 1, it's not happening, right? You can't do that. There's no number times itself, no real number times itself that gives you negative 1. Just doesn't work. So this would be BS. But again, I have cube root. Cube root is fine. Negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1? Negative 1. So if you do the cube root of negative 1, that's what you get. You get negative 1. But then you have to do it to the 5th power. But it's the same game. If the power is odd, right? Every time you take 2 negatives, you pair them up, you make a plus. But if the power is odd, you have 1 left over. You have a negative left over from all of the ones that are making a plus, right? You take the first 2, plus. You take the next 2, right? You could make 2 pairs out of that, but that's only 4. You have a 5th one out there, going to make it negative. So whenever you do negative 1, like if I did negative 1 to the 99th power, what are you going to do? You're going to multiply it 99 times? Good luck with that. You start making couples. You pair up the negatives. Plus, plus, plus. Every two negatives makes a plus. But at some point, you run out of them, and there's one left over. So without me even doing this, I know it's -1. What if I made it 96? It forms an even amount of pairs. You can make couples. Every two negatives make a plus, and there's an even amount. There's none left over. So this one would be +1. So it's very easy to deal with the -1s. This one's a joke. Anything to the 0 power is 1. I want to show you how you can be tricked here. This one. Wait, but you just said anything to the 0 power is 1. This is 1. This negative is going to come and smack that 1 as soon as it shows up there. So you have to be very careful. The minus is in there. The minus is not in there. And it makes all the difference. So this bottom one here would be -1. This one would just be 1. Now the bonus one. You're going to laugh when you see how ridiculously easy this is. You look at this last one, you're like, what the hell? 1/9 to the -1/2. This is, I don't understand what to do. Flip and switch. You have a negative power. And I said to you, take whatever is being raised to that power and flip it and switch the power to plus. So watch this. This dude got a flip. This got a switch. Flip and switch. 1/9, flip 9. Instead of -1/2, you have +1/2. What's 9 to the 1/2 power? Square root. So you get 3. Pow. So that's the answer, number 25. Just 3. Flip over 1/9. That's why it says flip and switch. Flip, switch, done. All right, so I did 12 of them. Get 2 bonus ones from me. So enjoy.